Oh, the times they are a-changin', as some of our global business leaders change their tune on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, just like I predicted years ago that they would. So today we're going to be talking about Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Shark himself, and of course Mark Cuban as well, who are both prominent business leaders that threw cryptocurrency under the bus back in the bear market, but have now hopped back on the bandwagon now that things are looking more solid. I predicted this would happen in actually my most watched video ever, and this was back in the bottom of the bear market in 2019. But now business leaders, publicly traded companies, and literally everyone are FOMOing into Bitcoin. And you know what that means. Cryptocurrency is set to continue rising as much as this bullish trajectory and fundamental underlying news continues to emerge. So today we're going to be talking about how Bitcoin is setting its sights on $100,000 in the short term, and that altcoins, as always, are set to be slingshotted to absolutely astronomical new highs from this move. As a bonus, we're going to be talking about a continuing narrative that continues to bear fruit. You're definitely going to want to watch this one front to back as it's packed with value. And if you guys are excited, go ahead, destroy that like button, and remember, each and every comment on this video is entered to win your very own hardware wallet. With that said, let's dive in. The news of the day, without a doubt, is Shark Tank star Kevin O'Leary changing his tune on Bitcoin, and he's allocating 3% of his entire portfolio, which is millions and millions of dollars. I don't know exactly how wealthy Kevin O'Leary is, but this is no small chunk of change. And this is a huge flip. But remember, it's not his only flip-flop, because Kevin O'Leary actually knew about Bitcoin back in 2013. He actually was on TV talking about how promising Bitcoin is when it hit $1 billion in total market cap. And now we are with Bitcoin closer to $1 trillion in total market cap. And Kevin O'Leary is finally flipping back onto the good side, coming back into the light and joining the future of money itself. So let's look at yesterday's statement. He says, is Bitcoin a currency, property, an asset, maybe all the above? I'm going with a 3% portfolio allocation, and I'm looking at investing in miners that can create the coin under a mandate of a zero carbon, so sustainably. He also joins the laser eyes movement here, as you can see, making him a true Bitcoiner memer. And we can only assume that he's going to go down the rabbit hole, be shilling some abstract DeFi token and releasing his own NFTs within the next few hours. That's satire, of course. I'm kidding, though I wouldn't be surprised to see it. But the reality is that this is a big change of tune. Watch this.
It is a useless currency. It is a useless currency. That's what I believe. I mean, look, I'm not, I realize people have different opinions, but to me, it's garbage.
Well, what's important here is not whether or not Kevin was intentionally lying to you. It could be very well that he just changed his belief on Bitcoin, and that the crash of 2018 made him feel like crypto was actually not a sustainable ecosystem. And then the bull market showed him that this stuff is indestructible Teflon. The reality is that this happens to most people, which is funny to me because we usually think of these types of investors as the smart money. But in reality, in crypto, all those institutional heads typically buy the top and sell the bottom. It happened in 2017, where these institutional big investors are rushing in to astronomically high prices. If you were here following the channel in 2020, you would have gotten in on things literally 1,000% gains ago, or sometimes 10,000+% gains ago. So when you understand that these institutional investors are buying some astronomically inflated bags, it shows you just how powerful the retail movement here is in crypto, and how this, in my opinion, is one of the only chances for little guys to truly get ahead and become bigger fish in the sea. You're typically never going to get to a stock before these institutional investors, but you could get to an altcoin before these guys get in the pool. And that's where a life-changing opportunity is sitting right around the corner in crypto land. But that's not all, as Jack Dorsey has just announced that he's going to be pulling a micro strategy and investing $1.25 billion in Bitcoin from a convertible note offering, meaning he's selling debt in his company in exchange for buying Bitcoin. This is what MicroStrategy did. But again, this shows you they're buying here at these levels, not a little bit. Billions of dollars of buys. This is not insignificant. This shows you that the price support we're creating at these levels will lead to a nice price support level here. This is really important that Bitcoin just doesn't go straight up, but builds support bases along the way so that levels like this become hard to penetrate to the downside. This is incredibly, incredibly big for crypto and Bitcoin. And we all know as Bitcoin rises, the liquidity and the opportunity in altcoins goes parabolic and exponential in relation to that. And as I've said, we're living in historic times where it would not surprise me to see the end effect of this be a consistent drip of government stimulus. In reality, the economy is incredibly weak and people are hurting in a way that actual stimulus is not enough. They need a consistent dose of stimulus. And so in this particular example, we're seeing now the emergence of QE infinity and the beginnings of a push towards a universal basic income. I'm just saying, as I've said over the last year, that I believe that this is where this push is headed, is to have people get consistently paid by the government each and every month. And that means that anything that is priced against US dollars is most likely going to skyrocket. But of course, the allure of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and hard-capped digital assets is only going to become more and more evident in this climate. And I wanted to check in briefly on a narrative that I brought up to you several weeks ago, and I also named a particular coin that fits in that narrative, Multiplier MXX, which is pumping pretty hard today. Honestly, this has been a crazy volatile period for Multiplier, but it actually has ended up offering some pretty significant opportunities. I mean, if you see here, we covered Multiplier down here around 11 cents. It had this rocky cool off, and it actually came down from 43 all the way down to 23, and then it rocketed up to 68, and then it came all the way down here to 27, and then now it's peaked up to all-time high within the last few hours of about 84 cents, which is pretty astronomical. I mean, this is some serious volatility here, but you could just see how even when coins have good fundamentals, they can still offer up some huge opportunities, and there's definitely dips that are for buying in the bull market. Of course, with Bitcoin here at 47.7 and sitting here at just under $900 billion in market cap, I do believe we are still in a pretty full-blown bull market, and this is some chop that will offer up a nice little reset to the market. We've seen it on fees, we've seen it on greed, we've seen it on coin prices, and these things tend to add longevity to the bull run because something can't go straight up forever. It just can't. There's laws of physics here. Multiplier's resilience here being a good example of the Binance Smart Chain narrative and how it's still holding strong. And we also see EasyFi, who's also getting a really nice pump here off of the Binance Smart Chain integration that they just did, where they just announced that EasyFi will be integrating Binance Smart Chain. Of course, we've been covering Easy since it was a micro cap at about $1. So congrats to anyone who got into Easy when we first covered it so many months ago. Sometimes it's hard to hold on to coins for that long, but when you see a good project that has strong fundamentals and a low valuation, often worth the wait, as we're seeing with EasyFi. So congrats to them. And again, it validates the Binance Smart Chain narrative. So as Bitcoin's rocky consolidation continues, we see huge news of the shark, Mr. Kevin O'Leary. Honestly, my favorite shark. If you guys disagree, go ahead, fight me in the comments below. But to be honest, I think Kevin has some of the best business sense of all the sharks. Sorry, Mark, if you see this. But the reality is that I always expected Mark and Kevin to come around to the nature and the promise of cryptocurrency, to the nature and the promise of the blockchain. So it's great to have you guys back on the right side of history. And again, the news about Twitter leveraging debt to buy $1.25 billion in Bitcoin is fantastic. And it shows you the desperate thirst for these publicly traded companies, huge asset managers, institutional investors, business leaders to get into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And it shows you that these price levels are most certainly not the top. These are not these dumb investors, though typically it is funny how they tend to buy inflated prices. And that is, again, a reason why getting in early to these projects, getting in early to crypto in general, is one of the most important things that I believe anyone can do to completely change their financial futures. With all that said, this is incredibly bullish, and it's a very promising time for Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. We're seeing the power of the Binance Smart Chain narrative and continuing to drive a lot of the altcoin activity. But of course, we also have exciting developments around layer 2 scaling on Ethereum coming within the next few weeks. In my opinion, it's all happening at the right time and just in time for more and more mainstream audiences to start adopting these assets and these ecosystems. I believe quite strongly that if you're seeing this video, you are very, very early. Even though it feels like this bull run has been going on for quite some time, the reality is there's so much more ahead of us. And just like you see on the chart for different coins, on the chart for the entire industry, just because there's some consolidation, just because there's a downturn, doesn't mean that the future isn't bright and doesn't mean that the technology isn't inevitably going to take over. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about Kevin O'Leary, Twitter, the ship being pointed squarely at $100,000 Bitcoin, the Binance Smart Chain narrative continuing to show itself as an important trend in the altcoins. If you guys enjoyed this, go ahead, give me a thumbs up. And remember, each and every comment on this video is entered to win your own hardware wallet. As always, my name's Elio Trades. You can find me on Telegram or Twitter. The links for both of those are in the description, and I will see you very soon on the next episode.